Hello and welcome to the Soft Matter Kitchen. My name is Keara Saud and I'm a PhD student studying at the University of Michigan. In my research, I study colloidal systems and their rheology. These concepts may sound foreign, but they actually can describe many foods that we eat every day. So first, what is a colloid? A colloid is a mixture of tiny particles, about 10 nanometers to 10 micrometers in diameter, that are dispersed in another material, often a liquid. To put tiny into perspective, the thickness of a single strand of hair is about 50 micrometers, and we can fit somewhere between 50 and 5,000 of the colloidal particles that I study into just one diameter of hair. A great example of a colloid is milk. Milk is what? Yes, milk is a colloid. In milk, the colloidal particles are the proteins and fats, like casein and milk fat, which are dispersed in water. For milk alternatives, the colloidal part can be plant-based proteins and fats. People have also figured out how to successfully add other nutrients like calcium and non-native proteins to plant-based milks to make them more like cow's milk, or to just make them more desirable and delicious. The differences in the colloidal particles that are in cow milk versus plant-based milks can create dramatic variations between milks, as well as with foods made with milk. For example, have you ever tried to make instant pudding with plant-based milks? I have, when I ran out of cow milk, and let's just say it didn't go so well. I ended up with a bowl of sugary flavored, slightly thicker water. So why did I not get a beautifully gelled pudding? As it turns out, my pudding, made with plant-based milk and instant pudding mix, did not have the necessary ingredients for gelation. Working with the Soft Matter Kitchen, I've learned that these necessary ingredients can come from either the pudding mix and milk, in the case of instant pudding mixes, or just the pudding mix, in the case of cook and serve pudding mixes. Who knew that the type of pudding mix was so important? Apparently not me. Let me explain more. Instant pudding mixes were created specifically for cow milk. The gelation with these pudding mixes occurs mainly from the combination of something called tetrasodium pyrophosphate, or TSPP, with milk protein colloids. TSPP only forms a pudding-like gel with a protein called casein that's found in cow milk. Other proteins that can be found in plant-based milks don't interact with TSPP in the same way, and so even when high in protein, plant-based milks like soy, flax, and pea protein milk won't gel with instant pudding like cow milk. On the other hand, cook and serve pudding mixes and most homemade pudding recipes don't rely on milk proteins to gel. These puddings instead typically gel from the swelling of cornstarch that occurs in the presence of water and heat. And because this starch gel is what gives this type of pudding its structure, different milks containing different proteins don't matter as much. The resulting texture and flavor of cook and serve pudding made with plant-based milks are a bit different from cow milk, but you'll still end up with a successfully gelled product to serve your loved ones, or just yourself, as compared to the instant pudding mixes that are made with plant-based milks. Rheology can be used to describe certain aspects of food texture and how it may be perceived. For example, viscosity, a measure of resistance to flow, can capture information about the perceived thickness of food. The plant-based instant pudding mixes flowed very easily or had a low viscosity and are perceived as thin or water-like. On the other hand, the cow milk instant pudding and the plant-based cook and serve pudding did not flow as easily. They both clearly have a greater viscosity than the plant-based instant pudding, but these puddings have another property that is also contributing to visual differences and later to mouthfeel: a yield stress. A yield stress is essentially the ability of a material to maintain its shape and can capture information about the perceived firmness of food. The Soft Matter Kitchen has many great posts about this property, but for this pudding comparison, you can see how the cow milk pudding and plant-based cook and serve pudding will maintain some of its shape on my spoon, whereas the plant-based instant one does not. From some quick rheological testing, we can see that the cow milk instant pudding has a yield stress of around 40 pascals, slightly higher than ketchup and slightly lower than mayonnaise, while the plant-based cook and serve pudding has a yield stress of around 25 pascals, and the plant-based instant pudding had no measurable yield stress. All this contributes to the cow milk instant pudding having a creamier texture similar to yogurt. There are many more colloids and rheological properties at play in pudding making and perception, and there's even more science beyond these two fields that contribute to making a pudding great. However, if you look at what's causing gelation, you can pretty well describe and predict which puddings will gel or not. And this is the first part of making a successful pudding. Unlike my initial soy milk pudding attempt. This video was made possible with support from the Rheology Venture Fund of the Society of Rheology and the AIP SBS internship program. Happy pudding making!